I've rattled this spiel off 1,000 times now, so I should know what I'm saying. But knowing that, it'll probably I'll still mess up somehow. What's good, Degens? Welcome back to another video. Welcome to the first in the bag session with myself. Really wanted to do this series so that we could give an insight into players that aren't necessarily at the top of the game, so players that are just starting out, playing for a year, making that transition from MA3 to MA1, because a lot of the other in the bags that I've seen have been pro players who, you know, can throw super far, and that's not the case for all of us. So I'm currently just over 800 rated. I've been playing for just under a year. Played a few tournaments, but yeah, hopefully give you an insight of what's in my bag. That will help you, you know, especially with where you're at in your game. So yeah, without any further ado, let's hop into it, starting with the putters that I'm using. Okay, putters that I am currently putting with are the DISCRAFT Fierce. Now, I have tried out a number of different putters before settling on these for a number of different reasons. I really like a shallow putter, which the Fierce is. I really like an understable putter, particularly for those putts outside of C1. And I love the hand feel of these, the plastic, which is the rubber and baseline mix, the special blend that DISCRAFT have. Really, really love these. Also part of the PP gang, so the pink purple putter gang. Really good, but yeah, settled on these and in particular from outside of circle 1 because I like something that's going to go dead straight, and that's what an understable putter does give you. Now they're not great in the wind, but I'm working on my actual putt to fix that. But yeah, this is what I'm currently putting with, the DISCRAFT Fierce. So let's move into the putt and approach. Alrighty, big stack for the putt and approach discs, and we will start off with the KASTAPLAST BERG. Really, really love this disc. Very, very unique disc in the hand. Massive puddle top. I got this one in K1 plastic as well, so very soft, very pliable, very bendy, very flexy. This disc is amazing because you can rip it essentially as hard as you want and have it go dead straight, both forehand and backhand. And because of the softness, it's not going to get a lot of skip, not going to get a lot of ground movement either, which kind of feels like cheating in some ways. But yeah, this disc is great and really, really good addition to the bag, as there's not many discs that cover off this slot. Then we've got the Banger GT from DISCRAFT. I had no expectations when I got this disc. First off, I found it on a buy and sell page. But this is incredible. I really, really like a thumb track, and I found that whatever angle you put this disc on, it will just hold it and just glide with that angle. So really, really great. This is another one that you can rip quite hard on and not have it turn and burn or turn over too much. So yeah, really, really good disc. If they ever made this disc in a softer plastic, like a Z Flex or a Crystal Flex, this might kick the BERG out of my bag. So yeah, really, really great disc. Definitely one you want to pick up as a beginner as well, especially because that thumb track isn't as common in some of the other brands. Moving on then to another Fierce, this one in Big Z plastic. This is what started the love affair with the Fierce, but this disc is incredible, especially if you're a beginner. You can push this flat and have it turn right the whole way, or this is great on a little bit of hyzer to flip up to flat and just ride that sort of putter line down, which just UFOs to the ground. So yeah, really, really good. If you are just starting out, I highly recommend you check out a Fierce, especially in the premium plastics, because yeah, it'll change your game. And then the last two discs in the putt and approach lineup, hopefully discs you'll be well aware of. It's the Zone. I've got one in the ESP Tour Series Swirl Flex plastic and one in the Crystal Flex plastic, the Get Freaky. Throw the Get Freaky primarily on forehands, and then using the Ledgestone one for the backhands. But this disc is great. We'll go straight, we'll then turn left or turn right depending on forehand or backhand, but very, very consistent disc. This is the one disc that sort of sits in between two pockets for me, so it's both a putt and approach and a mid-range in my bag. You've probably heard about the zone, it definitely live up to the hype, and once you've sort of been playing for a little bit, you definitely want to add one of these to your bag. That does it for putt and approach, so let's move it straight into the mid-ranges. Currently not bagging many mid-ranges, but you will know the first one, as it is probably the most popular disc in disc golf. It is a BUZZZ. I got one of mine in my BUZZZ plastic. Really like this plastic from DISCRAFT. But this disc is incredible, lives up to the hype in my opinion, goes straight for ages and ages before finally turning left. And that fade is not nearly as pronounced as some of the other mids that you'll find in the market as well. This is my only ace disc as well, so it holds a special place in my bag. Probably never ever going to come out unless, God forbid, I was to lose it. But yeah, if you're just starting it as well, this is another disc that I can highly recommend you pick up. And to complement that, we have the RPM KOTUKU. Now I've got mine in glow atomic plastic, and this thing is amazing. Much better than the BUZZZ in headwinds, definitely has a more pronounced left finish as well. So if you're looking for that out of the mid-range, I highly recommend you check out one of these discs. The KOTUKU is great as well. You can trust it in any sort of headwind like I was saying, and you know, not have to worry about it turning over. That does it for the mid-ranges. Like I say, there weren't many, but the next up on the list is the fairway drivers. We've got a lot of fairways to cover. These are probably some of the most used molds in my bag. And we'll start off with the Passion. This disc was a revelation to me. Someone marketed it to me as a longer BUZZZ, and it actually lives up to that hype. It's nice and shallow, which again is what I really like and look for in a disc. But these are just fantastic in terms of distance. Just enough understability, which means you can push it flat with a full S curve. You can put it on a little bit of an anhyzer angle, have it turn over and come back, or throw it with a little bit of hyzer and have it flip up to flat, depending on how much power you give this disc. Very versatile. And yeah, another one that I think a beginner would really benefit from being able to put in their bag. And then another recommendation for myself, this was when I was first starting out. Someone said to me, you need to get a T-Bird 3. You should probably get multiple T-Bird 3s and throw them over and over and over again until you figure out some form techniques and how your throw works. And that piece of advice was invaluable. This still makes the bag, even though it's getting more and more beat in. It's a straight disc with a little bit of a left finish, a little bit more stable than something like the Passion. But mine's beating into a very straight flyer, so I may rotate in a couple more molds depending on how this one continues to progress. But yeah, another great disc as well if you're a beginner. It's going to get you lots of distance as well as that nice left finish. And then going back to a little bit more of an understable option, we've got the DISCRAFT Heat. The Heat is fantastic. At neg 3, it's going to be quite unstable for some of the people that have been throwing for a while, but as a beginner, this disc is incredible. This is also the first disc that I got as a die, and the cell die that I got is really sick. This disc is great on backhands, forehands, flip ups to flat, flat to turnover right shots. You name it, this disc can do it. Would really recommend as a beginner as well that you pick up one of these. This is probably going to be the furthest flying disc until you really work on your form and really get some progression in that area. But yeah, you can't go wrong with a Heat. And then filling out the slots, because a lot of pros have one single mold and they'll often have the molds in different stages of wear fill out their bag. As a beginner, I don't find that that's as feasible, so something that sort of covers off the slot between a Heat and a T-Bird 3 and a Raptor and a Passion, I found is the DISCRAFT Undertaker. Throwing this more and more now that I'm getting a little bit more power in my throw, because at neg 1 I'm still getting a tiny bit of turn out of it before it then fades back. So getting sort of max distance out of this one at the moment. BUZZZ again, because like I say, my favorite plastic from DISCRAFT, and my bag definitely is primarily DISCRAFT. But yeah, really cool disc. Love the rim on this. Probably one of the most comfortable in the hand feels that I've had, especially in the fairway driver, distance driver range. So would recommend checking one of these out too. Then moving on to more overstable options, we've got the 2022 Tour Series Raptor. This isn't actually as stable as some of the old Raptors that I've had, but kind of, you know, fills that void in terms of something that I want to go straight for a little bit and then finish hard left. Really awesome on forehands as well. Probably throw this primarily on forehand because you can put a little bit of ante on it and have that nice flex line, give you some good forehand distance there. So yeah, also sick new ghost stamp with the 2022 Tour Series. So yeah, definitely check that out. And lastly, in the fairway driver lineup, we have the Calvin Heimburg Millennium Draco. Now this thing is board flat and it is so overstable. It's a great utility disc. Throw this on forehands with a lot of ante to get that really pronounced flex forehand line. But this is great if you're in the woods, you need to throw a thumber, you need to throw a forehand roller, you've got a scramble. You need to have something like this in your bag. And from what I've seen, pretty much every single one of these is the same. It's board flat because obviously that's what Calvin likes. And whilst I'm going to be using it for a little bit of a different purpose than he is, I can definitely recommend getting one of these and putting it in your bag. You never know when you're going to use it, and you're not going to use it often, but you can't live without something like this. So yeah, that wraps up the fairway drivers. Finally, we're going to move into the distance drivers. Okay, first up in the distance driver category, we have the Vulture. Now this, in essence, is for me a longer T-Bird 3, but really nice straight flight with a pronounced left finish. Again, just at a slightly higher speed than the T-Bird 3, so you're going to get all those same characteristics out of it. I'm looking forward to beating this one in because, yeah, I really think having some beat-in Vultures in the bag is going to be really good long term, so I can't wait to see how this one goes. Then, a very important disc in my game, for a number of different reasons, is the Hades. I've got it in two different plastics. I've got my Crystal Z here and I've got my Big Z here. Big Z is definitely the more understable of the two options, but this disc kind of redefined forehands for me. Up until I picked up this disc a couple of months ago, I wasn't really throwing forehands, but all of a sudden throwing an understable disc forehand, getting that flip up, getting that nice long glide before it really wants to start finishing right again, was something that I hadn't experienced, and it's allowed me to work on the game and to really get some good distance on my forehands. The Paul Macbeth stamp too is really sick on this one. I tend to throw the orange one both forehand and backhand, but primarily throw the Hades on a flip up forehand as well, which is a shot that I don't think gets talked about enough in disc golf, but is really great if you're learning too, because like I say, can probably push this 90, 95, maybe even 100 meters on a forehand, which if you told me I was able to do that a couple of months ago, I'd have just laughed in your face. So yeah, really recommend picking up something like this. Doesn't have to be a Hades, but I think something understable from a distance driver perspective, you know, will really change the way you think about your game. Next up in the distance driver category is the ZEUS. Now this is the Destroyer mold. Every company has their Destroyer clone, but this one I found to be quite nice because I really like the ESP plastic from DISCRAFT, but this one is slightly underweight ZEUS, and I found that I can get the most amount of distance on this. Can rip this on a slight ante line and have it really flex into that nice S curve. Can even throw this in the wind with a little bit of confidence as well, which is great. Just give it obviously a little bit more flat. Not something I'd recommend for beginners, but once you start to figure out your game and you start to figure out what type of shots you like to throw, I do throw a lot of my shots on ante. This comes up pretty clutch. And lastly, this is primarily in the bag just because it looks sick, but you also want to have a more overstable option in your distance category, just in case you rock up to the course and it's going to be a lot windier than you expected, and that's where I find the Force to be pretty great. This disc was surprisingly straight when I first threw it. I thought this was going to turn left straight out of the hand, but I actually do get a good amount of forward distance and forward progression before this starts to want to fade. So yeah, really love this, and yeah, who can resist a 5-claw Paul Macbeth stamped Force? So yeah, this is in the bag. I think long term, this is going to get a lot more play for me, but my game has to progress a little bit before I start to make the most of it as well. Alrighty, that's what's currently in the bag when it comes to all the different discs that I've got. There are some notable mentions that I think are going to come in and out of the bag, which I'll just talk about now, and then we'll cover off the actual, gear that supplements the discs that I'm currently throwing. Alrighty, notable mentions. The first one we've got is the PIWAKAWAKA. This was a recent gift from a Secret Santa from a friend. And to be honest, I am loving how glidey this disc is. It's definitely going to make a slot in the mid-range lineup for me, and so I might need a bigger bag in order to include it, but like I say, definitely loving this. The neg one is quite pronounced in my opinion, and I really enjoy that turnover shot and then having it just glide down, no fade, sort of then settling flat, which is awesome. Like I say, RPM disc in cosmic plastic, so definitely recommend checking one of these out too if you're a beginner. Then, this one's currently fighting for the KOTUKU slot in my bag. It is the Adam Hammis Crystal Z WASP. This is the only real difference between this and the KOTUKU is that this has a little bit less glide, which I find is really good for the windier days out on the course. But yeah, really like this disc as well. And like I say, sort of interchangeable with the KOTUKU. And then this disc, which I primarily bought for the stand, but it's the Champion Rock 3 from INNOVA. This has, it's sort of bridging the gap between mid-range and fairway for me. I get a lot of distance out of this 5-speed. Also not as stable as I anticipated, being Champion and having 3 fade. But yeah, definitely something that I can see working my way into my bag as I get a little bit more power in my game as well. And then we talked about the old Raptors. I actually finally got this one back the other day, so shout out to the person in Taupo that found this and sent it back to me. But this is one of the original ESP run Raptors, and I found this to be much more overstable than the previous Tour series. So this is going to, I guess, be interchangeable with the DRACO that's currently in my bag. It's not quite as stable as the DRACO as well, so maybe there's a slot for it to be included, but I've just got to play around with my shot shapes and see which one I like best. Next up, we've got the 2022 Alexis Mandujano Tour Series Scorch. Now this thing is beautiful. I'm loving the fact that this is kind of like a pseudo huck die with what DISCRAFT have done with their latest Tour Series run. But this is great in that it's not as understable as something like the Hades. So now that I'm getting even more power in the forehand and more power in the backhand, I'm finding I'm leaning on this a little bit more. So I suspect that one day soon, this will take those out of my bag and replace it with the Scorches. And then finally, wouldn't be an honorable mention if I didn't shout out one of our good friends, Keith, and his Tour Series disc. Now this is an RPM KAHU in atomic glow plastic, and Keith recently won the NZ MA3 2022 Nationals, and we got the Sky Wrath from Dota imprinted on one of his favorite discs, and this thing is an absolute beefcake. It's probably my fastest, most overstable disc. At the moment, unfortunately, all I can use it for is just a little bit of utility. But yeah, really fun, and obviously bring it out when I need sort of that utility shot. So there's always an option for this disc as well. Fantastic, that wraps up the discs. Just wanted to talk to you about some of the peripherals, some of the bags, some of the baskets that we cover off. I'm currently rocking 2 different bags, but the primary one is this Dynamic Discs one here. Now it comes with both the satchel option as well as the backpack option that you can see here that I've got included. Really great bag. It's got lots of internal storage as well, probably getting anywhere from 20 to 25 discs in here total alongside the pocket here. So you've got 3 segmented bits and then a putter pocket in here. You've got 2 nice big side carry cases, one for a drink bottle and the other one I typically have a towel in. And then we've got 2 side pockets here, which I always make sure to carry mozzie repellent, sunscreen, a Vivid. We've got the marker, we've got another marker over here, and we've got a dry sack as well. So yeah, always come prepared, always make sure you've got what you need. You never know when you're gonna rock up to a course and get eaten alive by mosquitoes, so it's always good to have that sort of stuff there, or a day that you don't expect to be sunny, to have the sunscreen available is always great. But yeah, really good bag. It's holding up well to the beatings that I've been giving it. And then we've also got behind me here an RPM disc mate, my practice basket. Buying this and investing in this for my putting game has been next level. And then on top of it, I don't know if you can see, but I've got cones for laying out when I go and do field work, and I've got a tape measure as well, so I can measure C1 putting circles and things like that as well, because I don't know about you guys, but I was finding that I was really underestimating quite how big circle 1 is when it comes to disc golf. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed that little insight into my game, into where I'm currently at. Like I say, we're going to be doing this with a number of different people at a number of different skill levels, so hopefully we can provide something for everybody in this series. If you have enjoyed it, please make sure to like and subscribe. There'll be other videos on the channel that you can watch, but stay tuned for when we do the next in the bag. Thanks so much for watching.